Hello, everybody, and welcome to another incredible, awesome, and fun episode of the Casual Chats. It's part of that exceptionally irresistible show. This is where we highlight and we love to advocate and we love to show off incredible, exceptionally irresistible people. People that either demonstrate something exceptionally irresistible about themselves in their personal, professional life, or in their business, or all the above. Somebody like Rasie right here. She's incredible. She's awesome. And we are so grateful for her to be here today. So, Rasie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. You're so sweet. Thank you.
I'm super excited about this episode because every time I talk to you, it's like light just comes and your smile and everything about you. So I really am excited about this show. But I will read your bio and then we'll jump right into, who you are, what you are, and stuff like this. So
Good.
Rasie is a leadership coach, bestseller author of Lead in Your Truth, and she's a speaker. She helps business and corporate leaders lead their teams more effectively through self-leadership. I love that. Closing the opportunity gap in leadership is at the core of Rasie's work. She does this through her successful coaching program and youth mentorship program. All of this, I have like so many questions and so many things to say about this. And when we were preparing for the show, I was rereading your bio, and I was like, oh my goodness, the questions I prepared for her are just like I had to change everything last minute. So, Rasie, tell us a little bit about your journey. About how did you come to where you are, like what got you to write your book. Like, tell us more about who are you and how did you get here.
Jeremy, first of all, thank you so much for having me on here. It's super excited. I love our conversations. I still remember our first conversation. We're like, this is not enough. We got to get another call. And since then, like we have just like conversations behind the scene. I absolutely love your energy. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
How it all started. So I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa. And I moved from Sierra Leone and lived in the Gambia with my Aunt Rasie for a little bit. And then I moved to Canada at age 13. And everything that happened from there, like where I'm at right now, I fully understand like the challenges, the trauma, the adversities that I faced were all happening for me. So, and I started, like my first job was at McDonald's, working at McDonald's and the dollar store. Because back in the day, back then, it was you get paid $6.25 per hour if you don't have any work experience. So in order for me to make $8 an hour, I needed to get 500 hours of work experience.
Wow.
So I was like, I need to work 2 jobs so that I can just keep McDonald's when I'm at 500 hours. So that's where my leadership journey started. And so I worked at McDonald's. I worked my way up through the corporate ladder into operations restaurant manager position. And then I left McDonald's, and then I worked at Starbucks and worked through all the different roles, like within my training of like 6 weeks, like from barista to operations manager. That was a whole lot of experience on its own.
Yeah.
And then I was fortunate to open up 2 Starbucks locations, like one in Alberta and then one in BC. So there's a lot with leadership and a lot about like forming teams to like the performance stage. And I absolutely love it. And I always say this to my clients, and when I put out my content out there, it all starts with self-leadership. And I enjoy walking the talk and then talking the walk and helping my clients with that. It's it's a blessing.
Sure.
Like when you enjoy something, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you're talking about that whole like journey. Some would say you started from the bottom and you went up kind of thing. I was actually just writing, like right before we came onto the show, there was a LinkedIn article that I started commenting on. And it just seems that I've been having this conversation for the past week about this whole idea of like passion versus purpose. And, so many people are leaving their jobs right now, as we all know. But it's kind of like, well, what is it? Like where are they going to? Where are they headed next, kind of thing. So either they're starting their own businesses or they're going for another job, but what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
What's that going to look like when they actually do it? And I just didn't see anybody talking about it. And I just felt, because this is also something I talk a lot about. And I'm like, well, it's important to have this conversation, And so one of the person was saying, well, flipping burgers is a legitimate job. I said 100% it is. But I mean, how many people do you know actually find purpose in flipping burgers? And how's that changing the world? How's that impacting the world?
Yeah.
So I'd love to even hear your opinion, what, like the flipping the burgers, but then in your story, it's like you went further. That I'm curious to hear, what are your thoughts about it?
I think like when we're talking about passion, right? Like I think passion and purpose can both exist. You just got to figure out like, okay, what is my passion? What is my purpose? And how do I connect that? So for example, with like, I have, okay, so like people like staff that I've like worked with on my team that enjoyed, not necessarily flipping the burgers. It's interesting how people say that. But when I worked at McDonald's, there was no flipping. It was, you flip it to like put it onto like the tray, but not necessarily flipping it on the grill.
Right.
But anyways, it's like side topic there. We can like converse about that later. But I had staff that would work in the kitchen and they're content with that. They love it. They love making food for people. They love that, someone will have this burger or have this salad that I made and they'll be content because I did my best at preparing it. That's their way of giving love out to the world, right? And they're passionate about that. So I think it's a matter of like what brings you joy and what keeps you fulfilled like in the process. So for example, with like for me with leadership, I really enjoy helping my teams reach their full potential. I enjoyed helping everyone on my team do the best that they possibly can, helping them recognize that I can go further than this. Like even if you want to stay in that same role, there's things you can do to add value to your role and to your being, right? And then if you decide, okay, I'm going to move forward, then you're still adding value. So I think recognizing that, like that, and then recognizing that and then closing that gap. And in my story, the fact that I recognize, okay, I love helping people see their potential and do the best they possibly can so that they can reach a certain level of joy and keep filling up their cup with that. And that's how I got inspired to start my coaching business. I was like, okay, I could do this and help more people, can help more leaders like lead more effectively through that self-leadership. And, when we start to be more aware of where self-leadership is at and how we can add value to that, it just brings us closer to, living and fulfilling our purpose.
Yes, that's so true. And that's I didn't say it as eloquently as you did, and I'm glad you're shining more light. And the truth is, I guess I never had that experience working in such an environment, so I couldn't really speak as effectively as you did. But I do feel one thing I do have as a core value of mine is that no matter what I'm doing, that I don't care where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm showing up 100% and sometimes even 110 or 120%. Like if I'm going to be that cook who's cooking, making a meal or whatever, I'm going to be, you could bet your boots I'm going to be the best one at it, like I'm going to make sure of that, And I think that's more of like wherever you are, bring your best to the table, do it to your fullest. And hey, if you see that it's not bringing you fulfillment, then that's an indication to you that perhaps you need more, And in my personal story, I had a phenomenal job before I started. I never thought I was ever going to be coaching, consulting, or any of that kind of stuff. Never ever imagined it. But I had a great job. I was really, really content in my job, very fulfilled. But it was one day that I realized, I was like, wait a second, working here in the prison system, my impact ends here at the wall. And I'm only 33 years old, and it just didn't make sense to me. And I was like, is this all I could achieve? And I figured, like, hey, I could achieve more in such a young age. If I was 60 or whatever, maybe okay. But at 30, and in my early 30s, and saying, you know, I could potentially impact way beyond these walls. I found it as more as a responsibility, if anything, that I had to leave my incredibly comfortable job, really good, everything was great. But I felt like I was compelled because I felt that the world needed more, kind of thing. And if I had this gift and talent, who am I to hold it back?
Yeah. And you're so aware of it too, right? Like, I think it really starts with that awareness. Like, if you didn't know this, you wouldn't have pushed yourself like out. And I think that's where a lot of, in my case, like leaders that I support, they're not aware. And that's where, putting that message out there, and that those words to activate that, to understand, like, I am not aware, but I can start with awareness. Like, I can start looking around, I can look internally, and discover, like, what is my purpose, right? I definitely want to share, like, I've had quite a few experiences where, with my direct report, I flat out would say, if I am not challenged, I will look for it somewhere else, right?
Right.
And there's been situations where I've looked for it somewhere else and share, and then I'll say to my direct report, like, I don't want you to try to keep me here. I've already made that decision based on what I've experienced in the last, like, few years. But it definitely starts with awareness, like, just knowing what more, like, what drives me, what makes me get up and just, like, let's get it.
Right. Yeah. So on that note, Rasie, what is that one passion, purpose, message that you want to climb on the top of some mountain or at some rooftop, yell out to the world, and you want the world to hear, excuse me, Rasie's message? What would that sound like? What would that be?
It starts with you. Like, literally, I can say that over and over and over. It starts with you. And the reason why I say that, we don't know this when things are going well in our lives, right? And, either we're leading our teams, or we're leading our family, our community. When things are going well, you don't know, like, okay, what do I need to work on? Right. And it's when things, like, fall apart. Like, I did not see this come in any angle whatsoever. My life completely fell apart, like, in so it was 2017, I had a miscarriage. And then months later, in 2018, I lost my husband. And then, and then after that, like, I lost a lot of friendships. And I had to build boundaries around, even family and friends that were not feeding what I needed to do to heal. And I needed to do it on my own. So that's when I really recognized that it starts with me. Like, I needed to do this for myself. Wow. And there was, like, this voice that always will come up when I feel like I was going to give up, or I was just tired, exhausted.
Sure.
There's so much more. There's more.
Right.
Like, I have to do more. So I can't stay here. I got to do what it takes to get out of this and work through it. Not just, like, suppress it. I couldn't even suppress it if I wanted to, because it was way too heavy. It was like just overflow, like too much. Very, very heavy, right? And so I started to learn how to self-care first, filling up my cup and then pouring from that. And I still practice that, and I will continue to, and I help my clients do that for themselves as well. It goes, and the thing too, Jeremy, oh my gosh, I totally just said your other name.
No.
Jeremy. It's your podcast. It's messing me.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, I learned how to do that for myself. And when I pour from a place of fullness, from a wholeness. There's this joy that you feel from within,
Right.
and there's this light that you put out into the world.
Right.
And when people are receiving it, you feel the shift. Like I feel the
Mm.
shift. Like for example, yesterday I lost my charger and I had no idea where it was. And I had to go into the store to buy a charger.
Mm.
I went into the store and the associate, he was kind of like dull, like as I walked towards him, and all of a sudden he's like hyped. And then at the end of the whole sales process of him selling me the charger, he's like, "Thank you for making my day." And I was
Wow.
like, "What?" I was like, I couldn't tell that you were having a bad day. Like because everybody has their story, right? I don't know what he's
Sure.
going
Yeah.
through. So I don't make those assumptions.
Mhm.
But what he said that it's the energy that you brought with you. And
Mm.
that brings me a lot of joy, and then it makes me
Sure.
want to do more of it. It makes me want to fill up my cup more. It makes me want to pour more into our world because we need so much more kindness.
You need. It's so true. Yeah. I love that. And you're so right. And I couldn't yell this from the rooftop loud enough as well. It's really like if you and here's one thing. One of the reasons what got me into organizational psychology was I was reading a Gallup poll, and it was one of those like intro classes in my psychology degree that they were talking about, business and stuff like this. And one of the Gallup polls that they showed us was that, like 70% of employees are not happy at work, they're not engaged, and they're not really performing. And 90% of employers, that's, what, like 9 out of 10 employers are not happy with the performance levels of their employees. And it got me to ask, like, well, why? And these numbers haven't changed much since 1994. We're in 2022 and they haven't changed much. And it boggled my mind. And that really propelled me into that. In like, I shifted
Mm,
from therapy to organizational psychology, um, really just to discover what this issue was. And
yeah.
and through my observation and through my discovery and through my journey, I ask people, if you want other people to perform at their max, you're broken and you're expecting them not to be broken. Like, what type
Right?
of like, work on yourself,
Yeah.
be a full cup so that you could pour into these other cups. Well,
Yeah.
actually, the way I say it is more like be a candle. When
Mm,
you light up your candle, you can never lose from your actual light. You're always going to be the same candle, but you could light many other candles.
ooh, that's
But
good.
you got to light up your candle first,
Yeah.
before you can light up other candles. How do you expect these employees to work effectively if you're not effectively full?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exactly what you were saying, and I so much relate to that.
Mhm.
And really, people have to lead from within first before they lead other people.
They do. They
Absolutely
do.
love that.
It's more effective that way,
Right.
right? Like I had a moment where when I got hired at Starbucks,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working through, like the barista training was like a couple weeks, and then team lead training a couple weeks, and then
Mm-hmm.
shift supervisor, and then operations manager training. And I remember this like thought coming into my, because it was very difficult. It was
Hmm.
difficult for me to
Sure.
be learning this new role, and I'm getting trained by my team. I talk about this
Right.
in my book
Wow.
as well, and leading your truth. So I'm getting trained by my team, and I can tell, when I was learning, making the mistakes, they're getting frustrated because I'm holding them back from
Mm.
like, delivering that one drink plus 100 more.
Right.
And what occurred to me, I'm like, I need to be the expert at this. Like, I need to
Right.
be effective. And that even applies with like all other industry.
Sure.
If I don't fully understand what I'm asking my team to deliver on, and I cannot say that I'm able to live that and deliver, I can't
Mm-hmm.
be expecting that from my teams.
So true. Yeah.
There's such a big gap there.
Mm-hmm.
And it also goes for like even leaders and managers that micromanage, and
Mm.
understanding that, put yourself in their shoes. Like if someone was telling you every step of the way what you need to be doing. And
Right.
and then, they're right there all the time. Like, it's kind
Hmm.
of hard for you to do your job, right? Like,
Sure.
there's those like couple gaps that needs to be closed. Like, those are like crazy statistics. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's crazy. And just going back to the story of the charger that you were mentioning before, your energy is already like the moment you walk into a room, people right away know that your cup is full,
yeah,
and they feel it instantly. It comes with you.
hmm
And imagine you imagine either you're working for such a leader or you are such a leader that automatically, and this is also something that I've observed with hundreds of businesses that I've worked with,
hmm
was that I've observed that those leaders who are those micromanagers, those hard people to deal with, have incredible amount of insecurities, an
hmm
incredible amount of their cup is not full. They are either exhausted, they're not sleeping enough, either they
yeah,
are, they don't like, and it's exactly what you're saying. If I'm not working on myself, and if
hmm
I'm not filling up that cup, and if I'm not really taking care of me, it's going to
hmm
be it's going to be evident to everybody else, and they're
yes,
going to smell, they're going to see it right away.
hmm
Whereas if like you, and this is why you're on this show, because that's what Exceptionally Irresistible is all about,
yeah,
is that you're just a regular Russ. You're just trying to go get a charger for your phone.
yeah,
You weren't going into the store because you thought the guy was having a bad day and let me go light up his day. That wasn't, I mean, maybe
yeah,
subconsciously, but it wasn't the purpose of why you were in that store. You were just going to buy a charger, right? But the
hmm
person immediately felt how exceptionally irresistible you are.
hmm
Exceptional, just that the fact that you're just this light of energy, and
hmm
irresistible. The person just wanted to serve you. Like he just wanted to like
yeah.
work with you. So, and that's really what it's about. I'm curious to hear. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about when you hear exceptionally irresistible. What comes to you?
It's like I really embrace it, that authenticity, right?
Mm,
Like, knowing this is who I am and this is who I'm becoming. I'm going
mm-hmm,
to embrace all of it, even if it
mm,
requires me to write down all the things I love about myself, write down all
mm,
the things I do not like about myself when I look in the mirror or when I'm interacting with people, and
mm.
doing what it takes to
Yeah,
do better, right? And I think when we come from that place of being authentic and loving ourselves for who we are,
mm-hmm.
we become irresistible, exceptionally irresistible.
So
Because
right,
now it's, you're Yarmy, I am Rasie, and
right,
everybody else, it's, they can identify like, this is who I am, and I'm not going to focus on what other people want me to be, what
right,
other people desire me to become,
right.
right?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, it's and in like my place, it's like all about like my energy. Last year I actually I did a lot of like short clips of when I go for walks and stuff, and I shared on
mm-hmm.
on my Instagram stories. And it's all like, I focus on what can feed my energy. If I feel my energy depleting, I'm thinking of, okay, what do I need to do? So some
Mm,
actions is like putting it in my calendar that I need to go for a walk halfway through the day. I have a reminder that pops up on my calendar saying, look away from the screen, because I
right.
know what feeds it. So I'm gonna keep feeding it because I know
Sure.
this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's embracing like who we truly are. It goes back
Mm,
to what we're talking about, that it starts with us, right? Got to go in and
absolutely.
do that
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. And again, it's so important. And I couldn't. That's exactly it. And I love that you're echoing the whole purpose of that exceptionally irresistible,
Mhm,
message. I guess it is all about that growth. It's all about being that better version of myself,
mhm,
or attaching myself to this higher version of myself. Because when I bring my entire self, then those who surround me, those who are around me, will automatically effectively get impacted by it. But I'm not doing it for them. I'm just
mhm.
really doing it to be the best version of myself. And that's what brings me fulfillment.
Yes.
But if I'm expecting as a leader to have that impact on people around me, this is the way to do it. Really, this is kind of like the solution in a sense, um,
Yeah.
and I believe that we're all exceptionally irresistible to some
Right.
degree.
Yes.
Some believe it more than others. Some
Yeah.
don't even think that they are.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, like sometimes it requires that walk around the block. Sometimes it requires that stepping away from the computer, stepping
Yeah.
away from work.
Mhm.
Always asking myself, where do I stand? Where am I today? Who am I
Mhm.
today? Where,
Mhm.
what's going on in my life?
Yes.
Tapping in and always kind of like self-checking
Mhm.
myself first, and then I suggest people to do it with their teams as well. Always
Mhm.
asking the team, where are we? Where,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Brings us all together, brings us all on the same page again, and it's
Yeah.
that constant growth. It's that constant. And just because I've worked on getting into the habit of taking a walk every day
Yeah.
doesn't mean that that's where I stop. I have to go on to
Yeah.
the next thing.
And
Um,
I'll tell you this, that there were some days where I didn't feel like going for a walk, and that's where my
right?
sticky notes come into play. We need to walk today, like I
Yeah.
have something like that on my wall, or it's a
Mhm.
reminder of my mirror that anything is possible in my control. When I read that, like, I could go and use the washroom and I read that, it just
Mhm.
activates other things that my mind could be like, oh, let's hold back because we don't feel like it. Doesn't mean because I don't
Mhm.
feel like it, I'm not going to do it.
Well,
Right.
because you're feeding, yeah. But I mean, I interpret that as you're feeding your inspiration. So there are days that we're not in the mood of going to take a walk. We're not
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get out of bed today.
Yeah.
I get that all the time. Or business is tough right now,
Yeah.
and I'm questioning my faith, or I'm questioning these things happen, and not enough people talk about it. But it's the reality of being a leader.
Mhm.
But it's this. I have a purpose. I have a mission in my life, and it inspires me to know that I can have an impact on the world, and
Mhm.
that's what's pushing me. That's actually what's reigniting my motivation. I will do that walk because I have to be that healthy leader to
Mhm.
have that impact, to have that end goal that I'm trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the constant growth. And I guess my question to you with this is like, what are you, if you want to share, what are you currently, focusing on in your growth, like right now?
Ooh, okay, so this is
This
a
is
good
not
one
real.
because it's not something that I've like shared a deeply about, but I actually have it on my fridge right now. It's letting go, right? Like
Oh,
so
mm,
I love being in control. Like
yeah,
I don't know what a business owner doesn't like that, or entrepreneur, or
sure. I
manager,
yeah.
leader. Yeah,
Hmm.
we like to be in control of everything, and that translates into how we are in control of everything else in our lives, right? So
Right.
I'm really practicing letting go, and
Mm.
it's like I have on my fridge is let it go, let it flow, and just
Ooh,
be here, right?
I love
And
this.
yeah, and I read
Yeah,
that
I'm
every
gonna write this down soon. I'm gonna have to rewatch this. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let it go. Let it
yeah.
flow. And what was the third one?
And just be here, just
Just
be
be
here,
here. Oh my
just be
goodness.
here. Yeah,
My mind is blown. Wow.
and it's like my interactions, I usually like I'm a great listener, but it's like I'm adding more value to that. Like I'm holding
Mm,
more space when I'm listening, and
mm.
I'm really like I'm practicing with my mind to things that I want to hold on to that need to like they need to go.
Yeah,
Things like in the past, right?
sure. Uh-huh.
Going back when those memories come up, understanding that that is the past. Oh, we need to come
Mm,
back and just be here, you know?
mm,
And
mm.
my experience with grief as well. Like it from time to time, like my mind will trick me, right? Like let's be
Yeah.
sad in this moment. But
Mhm.
it's that memory, it's like that norm, right?
Sure.
Anniversaries come around, I'm probably gonna be sad, but I
Mhm.
have control over that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna cry when I feel like crying. I'm going to laugh when I feel like laughing, and
Right.
embracing all those emotions, right?
So
Um,
true.
yeah. Another example, it's with my business as well. is, if I feel like I'm like forcing things, I need to let it go
Yeah,
because it's not flowing.
that's right.
And I'm holding on to something that is not for me. So I need to like let it go so I can be here right now.
That's so true. And I'm gonna share a little secret about it. Is that that's how this casual chats was actually born. Was, I wasn't getting effectively the like. So I'm a very high achiever. So I really set my goals really really high with my exceptionally irresistible show, and I wasn't hitting the numbers that I wanted to. And I'm aware that I'm a really high achiever. So I yeah, but it was starting to feel like I was trying to gain control, and I was trying to like kind of like not force listening, like forced to get more listeners, not that, but it was more like how could I get more, or how, and I felt like I was losing that control. And then I said to myself, well, you know what, if that's the case, it's not about how many listeners I get or how many downloads or how many whatever. That's not what it's about. It's the idea of what is my purpose. I had to go back to that original source, and I felt that I was losing the flow. And I said, if that's my problem, that's only my indication that I cannot stop here. I cannot be satisfied here. I have to do more. And so that's kind of what opened up the idea of, if I'm not happy with the little that I'm doing, I better do more, and whatever, right? But it's getting into that flow. It's always reminding myself to not allow myself to get distracted and not allow myself to get off the flow. And if I'm being challenged, I have to stand up to the occasion. I have to really accept the challenge and take it on. So I love what you're sharing, because that's exactly what I'm dealing with right now. So
Wow. And the casual chats just flow. They
they
flow.
flow, and I wanted it that way. I didn't want pressure. I didn't want, and I love this. Like, look at this. This is awesome. And thank you for making this awesome too.
My pleasure. Yeah. I definitely, I wanted to mention this earlier, about that exceptional irresistible. I remember how, when we met on LinkedIn, and it was on Jen's live.
Yeah.
Energy. I love it. Energy
Yes.
vibes. Yeah. And I remember Claudia was the guest speaker.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I'll type in a comment and then you'll type something, or we're typing at the same time, and it was like very in sync of like what we were like getting from like the conversation. And when we connected in the back end, I was like, I like his energy. Like, I gotta get on a call with them.
I remember I felt the exact same way. It was like I'm trying just to interact and engage in a show and stuff, and there's another person who's like taking me for the money, and she's like, I was like, who's this person? Like, I gotta meet her, No, it was awesome. It was just it, and it's always beautiful to like see somebody who vibes on the same energy as you, and who really kind of like, when somebody just gets it, they just get it, and that's it. And there's no way to really explain that. That's how I felt when I very first met you, and I really appreciate that. So
likewise.
These kind of stuff. Yeah, the flow. That's what it is. Once you're in that flow, you're gonna be alongside the other people on that same current, and that's how these relationships are born, and that's how these collaborations are born. That's how many other things are born, because you're all in the same boat effectively, or you're on the same current. You might be on different boats, but you're on the same current. You're going the same direction. So that's the beauty of this stuff. And I hope if anybody has learned anything from this show, at least that's even the one takeaway I hope they take away from it, because it's real. That's what exceptionally irresistible is all about. That's what leading from within is all about. That's what leading from your truth is all about. That's what it's all about, just being who you are and flowing with all the people around you. And sometimes you don't need that control necessarily. It's going to happen by itself, and you have to let it happen organically. So I love your message. It's just absolutely incredible. I have one last question for you, Rasie.
Okay. Let's do it.
And this is my ultimate favorite question. Is, if there was anybody inspiring to you, like any inspirational person to you, and you had an opportunity to have coffee or dinner with that person, who would that be and why?
Whew, this is there's so many people, but like the one person that comes to mind, and you can even ask my family, they'll like answer it for me. It's Oprah, like
Ooh.
200%. There's probably more than 200%. And the reason why I say that, I still remember her words. It was, when you know better, you can do better.
Mm.
And I remember listening to this when I was in a victim mindset, right?
Mm.
Like in deep grief, it's like,
Sure.
poor me, I'm going through this. Like, it's tough.
Mm.
Like, yeah, it's tough and all that. But like, she helped me not stay there. So
Mm.
I was like guilting myself about like being in that victim mindset because I knew better. I knew I'm
Mm.
capable of better than that. And when I heard that, it gave me room to feel this to practice compassion and self-love
Wow.
for myself, right?
Wow. I really
And
hope Oprah watches this just to hear that. Like, I mean, it's no, it's really beautiful. It's incredible. Like that. Wow.
yeah, it definitely like got me out of like that dark place. And
Mm.
so I saw her in Vancouver when she came down in it would have been in 2019. I went with one of my girlfriends. And
Mm.
then in 2020, literally right before it was declared a pandemic, she was in LA. So I went with my brother and he's my sister-in-law and their friend. So I saw her in LA, and it was like, I thought Vancouver was great until the LA was a whole day of like a seminar. It
Wow.
was moving and it was tears. Like, I'm not gonna say who cried in our group, but
Mhm.
it was like tears flowing from all four of
Mm.
us that were in that room and going through that
Wow.
experience. And when I walked out of that experience, it was, I can do anything. Like, I
Sure.
walked away with that, and I
Sure.
still hold that closely. So there's like two impactful moments that
Wow.
she's really inspired me to do more and just keep going.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
So I like, just because so you're at this dinner or you're at this tea with Oprah and you're sitting there, and as your, butterflies have calmed down a little bit,
Uh,
and now you're a bit calmer, what would it look like, the conversation with her? What would you ask her? What would you tell her? Like, what would that look like?
I would share like what I've shared right now, like that quote of
Mm-hmm.
doing better when you know better, and that the drive that her words built within me when I was in my darkest moment, and I would walk away from that conversation just with so much fire, and just like, I can picture it's like the emoji, fire like all around,
Mhm.
because we can't even like contain the conversation. It's
Sure.
it's just a conversation that doesn't end.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something like you would be content just to let her know rather than ask her any questions or anything. You just want to share with her.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
Because I feel
that's
like I
impactful.
know, like we all know so much about like I know a lot about her, right? Like
Right.
with following her story
Sure.
and listening to her help other people tell their stories, like through Super
Mm.
Soul, right? And
Hmm.
the Oprah show.
Mm.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. My goodness, Rasie, this has been a mind blowing episode. So, excuse me, I really appreciate you. You are absolutely awesome. I will definitely continue following you on LinkedIn. You don't have to convince me much. But for the rest of the audience, if you haven't noticed already, and if you're not convinced enough, I'm telling you, follow Rasie. Either it's on LinkedIn, which is going to be, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, she's tagged here. But if you're following her, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, on YouTube or any other place, you could reach Rasie at www.pages.rbjumpstartcoaching.com. So, and or just get to LinkedIn and find her there, either way. But but
Conversation.
find Rasie and connect with her. Go check out her book. What was it? Lead with truth.
Lead in your truth.
Lead
It's
in your
an
truth.
Amazon bestseller. Yeah.
Amazon bestseller, so you don't have to look too hard on Amazon for her. Go check it out. This is incredible. Connect with her. You will not be disappointed, guaranteed. And for us, this is the Exceptionally Irresistible show. So this is what it's all about. You see, we believe that every individual has a fingerprint, and it's upon them to leave a mark on the world that is going to be noticeable. That mark is unique to you, only you. And that's what we're all here doing with these shows, that we want to highlight you. We want to advocate for you. We want to celebrate you. We want to empower you. We want to just hear your awesome story. And we are inviting you to join us here on this stage. The ticker down here below is showing you how to get there. So either yermikirkus.com or exceptionallyirresistible@gmail.com. Send us that email. Let's set up a time when we could interview you and when you could share your story with us. The world has got to hear it. So, Rasie, again, thank you so incredibly much for joining here and just for being the awesome you that you are. So thanks again.
Thank you, Yermi.
So that does conclude our show today. Thank you again, and see you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody.